Well, good morning. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Tanya, covering today's section, which is the fifth of Menachem Av. And the intent is not to actually read the Tanya word for word. For that, I suggest you come here. This is Chabad.org, and we can browse around a little bit. You can actually see here that on Chabad.org you can watch video. We can click here to watch. Here's one of the videos that actually will take you through the content. Hear it.
Good morning once again. Please join us for the portion of Tanya. Good morning. Welcome. We're about to conclude chapter 11 today.
Let's go back.
In the 12th chapter.
Let's go back actually to Tanya. I have to go back to their menu system. Go to Learning and Values, Daily Study, Tanya. And again, this is Chabad.org. Brings up the Tanya. So that's the objective. Pick up bits and pieces, talk a little bit more in depth about them, and see what we can glean, what we can learn, how we can grow from what we're learning. In the area of Teshuvah, Teshuvah means, it doesn't quite mean, but in English it's repentance, but it's more than that. According to Jewish sages and sources, both quoted in Talmud and Tanya, Hasidus, Kabbalah, Zohar, God's name in Hebrew is called Yud-Ke Vav-Ke, spelled with a Yud and a Hey, a Vav and a Hey. And when this manifestation of God, which we say through God's contraction, allows physicality and spirituality to take place, and at the same time, God has to be within that same space. So on a revealed level and on a concealed level. But this name through which God's energy comes into existence and creation, or creation comes into existence rather from God's name. When somebody does something counter to God's wishes, it says that the last Hey, the Jewish letter Hey, is separated from God's name. And that Hey represents our actions. So when a person does Teshuvah, he's actually reattaching the Hey back to God's name, and that's how the correction is made. So here we'll talk a little bit in this first section of Tanya. Basically, the Alter Rebbe who wrote the Tanya is saying that sure, when you start thinking about all your actions in life, you can't say that you're happy about your what's taken place. And what he's saying here essentially is you feel humiliated, and you should feel humility. Yet at the same time, you can't allow that to create a negative impact in yourself. You still have to look at your life in a positive way, and you have to go about your business. It says here with gladness and joy. You can see that right here, gladness and joy. Now, this level of being able to accept what takes place in your life, that level is a much more direct connected level to God. How? If God is everything, there's nothing outside of God. See, even that which happens to a person has to come through God, and it has to be part of God. So if something comes to you from God, so how can you then not look at it and not understand that that's the intention for which God has for you at that moment? That's what's going to happen. It could be good. It could be an unpleasant experience, God forbid. But that everything comes. There's nothing outside of God. I'm not talking about getting into the concepts of free will, reward and punishment, God's providence over creation, and so forth and so on. Cause and effect. What we're talking now is on a much more simplified basis, which is accepting upon yourself that everything that takes place comes from God. There's nothing outside of Him. As we continue to go through, we'll see that the Alter Rebbe is in fact talking that as you go through this process of Teshuvah, to understand what's taken place, that you can get down on yourself. It's real true Teshuvah. You can get down on yourself. And that's not that doesn't work. Because when you get down on yourself, then your own ego's involved in what's going on in your life. And it's like taking a glass and filling it half with water and then pouring sand in the glass. If the sand goes in, the water's coming out. If you want God in your life, you have to create a vessel. You have to create a container within yourself in order to be able to receive God's light. And when you become despondent, you become sad, it means that even though it's a natural human reaction, it's still a process of working on yourself to understand that if there's nothing outside of God, even that comes from Him. The things that are hard in life come from Him. And that's the purpose of Teshuvah. You have to work on those things. The things that are easy, that's not so much a message to you. The things that are difficult, that's much harder to address, but those are typically the things that you have to work on. So here the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain. Let's go find it. Which is really, I think, part of how we deal with life. Is when things happen to you, if somebody comes and treats you in an unpleasant manner, so instinctively we'll react to the way that we receive from the person. If the person's hurting us, we're going to hurt back. If the person's mad at us, we're going to get mad at them. And do all kinds of actions. The Alter Rebbe comes here at the end of the Tanya for today, and we'll close with this. And he's saying that really, if you want to be like God, because we do things that are counter to God's will, yet God still allows us to live. And God gives us a good life. It's the same thing. The Alter Rebbe is saying here, when somebody comes and treats you in a manner that is hurtful, you have to understand that things are happening because of how we've lived our lives. And if we understand, if we feel connected to God, then the reaction can't be one of instinctual reaction, which is to reach out and react to the person many times in a bad way. We have to understand it comes from God, and therefore we have to accept it with humility and move on. And when you do that, then you're really beginning the process of real Teshuvah. Have a great day.